Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Jonathan. This is the skating lesson. We'll be discussing four continents, the Youth Olympics, Gracie Gold's book, this lawsuit against US figure skating, everything and what more on the latest edition of This and That. So if you are new here, please subscribe below. Jonathan, it's the first day I have slept in 3 weeks-ish.
Just on the outside, I'm like, when does that boy sleep? We're coming out with amazing Carol Lane interviews. I was obsessed. All the stuff with Christine and Maya and Phil has been so wonderful that you've been putting out. I don't know how you're keeping up with all of this.
Well, there's more stuff I have to put out, but Maya was sick one day. I was going to do a video myself, then busy, real work, all of it. But yes, there's more coming, and it feels like skating is coming alive again. I don't know if you feel that, but it feels like it's all coming together. So
momentum is definitely happening right now.
And I've missed it. I like, have you? Yeah, right. I guess it's felt this weird thing for the last year and a half to 2 years. And I think a lot of that is the fault of the ISU for really damaging their own sport and then everyone else for putting things behind paywalls. I mean, I gave this very nerdy discussion about the algorithm and how, they, with no stars, there's no, it doesn't build the information bubble that works in these niche sports. So yeah, it's been a really, really interesting time in figure skating. Also, hold on one second. I got a gift in the mail that I'm going to show you.
Exciting. Hi, everybody. Now that it's just
us. I forgot that I had this.
There's John Curry. He's at the Met. In my production at the Met, we were not figure skating.
Listen, I got a blanket in the mail from the Carhartts. Okay. So I've been staying at the old Skate and Ski in Lake Placid, which is this. It was like a boarding house for skaters and skiers. But of course, when Safe Sport happened, there now needs to be like a nurse that would live there for everyone. It ruined all of the boarding houses in Lake Placid because with the Safe Sport rules, you basically can't do it. But this blanket, the Carhartts stayed there because it's now an Airbnb or a short-term rental, right? It just feels like it hugs to your body and just feels like
I love
that. The Carhartts are the ones that they brought in. They have like 3 Russian, Ukrainian boys skating with all of the girls, all of that skating money for Marina's Wave. Oh my gosh. You need this. You need this blanket.
Right, doesn't it, Dave? Yeah.
Oh my God. It like hugs to your body in the best way. Like I'm like, I never want to be like away from it. Like it's so good. We give our love to the Carhartts. Like, oh my God, like yes. And the younger daughter, you have to go watch it. She was doing a knockoff version, like Marina recycled, like the Farrakos program that Tessa Virtue did for the youngest daughter. And like, that I skate in Montclair, and the basic thing with the Carhartts is that the youngest one is like competing against Kristen and Igor's daughter. And like, so the Carhartt girls moving up to novice, so are Kristen Igor's team. It's been like that. Yeah. And the Carhartt girl is always like one spot ahead. And all I'm going to say is when you have a blanket like this, I'm supporting.
That is shortly behind. Yeah.
Listen, that little girl knows how to perform. And I don't care if that boy is 4 years older and dragging her until we get another boy that's age appropriate when she's at the right moment. Because let me tell you, they have taste. Okay. Like that's all I'm saying. Like
it's blanket. Yeah. Okay.
Listen, the youngest Carhartt is where it is at in the intermediate ice dance world. Okay. Like
no, I can't say I'm up on the intermediate dance world. So
well, maybe you need to start watching it. If you know who the kids are and you skate at the rink, it's like watching Dance Moms when you have that kind of a thing. And just know, like, I skate with these kids at the rink. Adam Esfandiari, he wants to be Olympic champion. He speaks about it openly, right? He teamed up with Vasilisa Serova, Roman Serov, and Anna. Like her parents were world level Olympic competitors. They teamed up in May. They split in what? January? Like multiple statements on Instagram, like loving that this is happening in the juvenile intermediate ice dance.
We're starting the whole.
I love that we need a joint account. I love that we need to give public statements and you know why they give public statements? They're alerting the coaches and the mothers of other students, so you get the cream of the crop partners. Did you know that like the person that runs Partner Search runs icedance.com? So you have to like keep it so like Igor Spielband will like know, oh, we have a juvenile boy.
Okay, interesting.
Oh yeah. The horse trading starts young.
Okay.
Like this week, like, oh, we had a technical specialist in the rink because the first solo ice dance international competition is supposed to be next month. And apparently Brooke and Lucas were invited, but nobody is saying where that competition is. It's like very mum. But I'm just going to say that Alper Ukar is a tech specialist and he was in there working with the skaters. And I was like, oh, we are getting ready for international competition.
Okay.
And apparently Lucas lost nationals and is training an insane amount. And like, Brooke has been doing shows and taking a lot of photo shoots on her Instagram. And I think it's going to be a very interesting competition.
Yeah, I just can't imagine being those competitors and sort of like not really knowing what the plan is. As we talk about all these other skaters, they're going to peak here, they're going to come down here, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They seem to just not have the information to plan. I think that would be very stressful.
They seem like they're getting the information and maybe there's planning.
Okay.
And great for us to watch it from far.
Agreed.
Because I think Brooke may need to they said that someone told me that Lucas does 18 programs in a day right now, getting ready for this international competition after he lost. That's some Evan Lysacek style intensity. I don't know that that number is correct. That may be an exact.
I question quality over quantity in those moments. Do you know what I mean? But because again, was the issue with any program you ever had the stamina?
I don't even. He missed a level at nationals last year. It's why he lost.
Okay.
Glencore, who was on with us, had it all figured out.
Right.
So okay. I'm ready to watch this.
Yeah, I am too. And I think we as fans are all ready to supply them with a list of people we would like to have enter the event eventually.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But let's
and
see.
They're both new to skating attention. So when people were writing stuff on, that people were getting really intense at nationals and writing comments, they're very aware of everything that's going on. So
okay.
There was a mom in the rink in Montclair that was secretly running an account on Instagram about solo dance, blogging about them. It was very Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. It was fantastic. So
people are intrigued. I think there's a lot to happen there.
Yes. So a lot happening. Also, we had Caroline this week, who was very interesting.
Loved that interview. I loved it. I mean, there were some very politically correct Canadian gloss over it kind of moments.
Oh, she's British. Did you not see her mug?
Oh, well, you had mentioned something about the mug. I saw your whole tea exchange. I didn't see what was on the mug, but it sounds like I missed a real doozy.
She also may have had a figurine of Queen Elizabeth II. If she could send the mug and that figurine, I'd really appreciate it. I love a little.
What I thought was an interesting takeaway from the Caroline stuff, as you were talking about training, how many teams, how long do they stay in, Will Piper and Paul.
Are you going to quote her? Are you going to quote her? Because she gave the quote of the season.
Which was what?
I've never aspired to be the Costco of ice dance.
The Costco of ice dance was an amazing quote. That was very, very funny. But also talking about.
And Jonathan, what was that in reference to?
Oh, perhaps a camp that has a lot of teams.
Yes.
She did not want to comment on, yet perhaps did so in that moment.
You said that. I was like, okay. Jonathan, we need t-shirts. We need that.
Boutique. I mean, I totally get that idea. And she produces very boutique teams as a result. But I thought what was interesting is to remember the day in and day out. And it sounds like whether or not, her teams are in a place like Montreal, it sounds like they're all enjoying the day in and day out of training. And we'll talk about this in the ice dance, for instance, at Four Continents. It seems easy on the outside to be just switch coaches, or why did you switch coaches, or something like that. But maybe the day in and day out, which is the bulk of what they're doing, becomes so pleasant for them that they're willing to overlook other things because the bulk of the time in the training they like. Even if
Yes,
on the
I mean,
outside it
yes.
doesn't
And
seem.
also, I think there's the feeling within ice dance that if you want to be successful, you have to go to Montreal because they have all of the judges, right? Even though Marie France did tell me that she doesn't do politics in 2020, and then they just count more and more countries. But I believe Mone is the one that's allegedly in charge of the politics.
Gotcha.
So, okay. I mean, he is the one that came from DDA. I mean, well, that's really okay. That is incredible that Montreal has this attitude that they are holier than thou. They were literally invented by Didier Gay and Roman, because remember, Papadakis and Cizeron didn't get to go to the Sochi Olympics because Didier wanted them to switch coaches and they didn't. He wanted them away from Zazui. So they sent that Corone and Jones, who had that awful free dance, and everybody wanted Papadakis and Cizeron there. They were the fan favorites at the time. And they moved from 13th in the world to first in a year when they switched things politically. The skating ability didn't change.
No,
That
and to be fair, like I thought they were underappreciated before that. I don't think
100%.
it was like a mediocre team that suddenly just got catapulted. I think there was something there that people were like afraid to reward.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or maybe DDA told them not to reward it.
yeah. And in other terms, like when you were talking about sort of a coach's name attached to you, adding cachet to you even before you.
Of course it does.
I
Look
did
at what Denise Gold did with Gracie. She sent her to Frank Carroll. He put her in the Grace Kelly getup, and there she was, right?
Yeah. That short program moment at Worlds or at Nationals in 2014 was.
I'm sorry. Ilya Molin's parents were village skaters, okay? In my opinion, he needs Raphael in that because Raphael has done this horse trading at the highest level before.
Yeah.
Advising. And in my opinion, Ilya has bombed the last two free skates at nationals, right? And I think this is still a sport where that big coach can guide you. It's why you went to Carlo Fassi, right?
Well, it's clear what's happening in Virginia is interesting, as evidenced by some of the other people they're coaching. It seems like there is good information there, but you're right.
Is it? Do you think it's good information when you package someone like Alexei Romanov in 1997, and then that's what they're having Ilya Malinin look like now? He looks like Russian trash from the Misha
I meant like with the other skaters that they're starting to work with.
Why doesn't he just skate to Phantom of the Opera and just do it? Not one of those skaters is packaged well in that school. Not one.
I don't necessarily think of Raphael as an expert packager either. I think he just knows.
Excuse me, I debate. Let's debate this because he put Adam with Jeff Buttle and different choreographers. Adam was very commercialized and did very well for the public. You might not think he was an artist, but he almost creates like skating pop stars, right? Like look at Ashley Wagner in the Moulin Rouge. Yeah. That program was so effective. It like made it bigger than her skating ability, right? That's why I think Luna Hendricks should go to him. I mean, she's 7 cheated triples and a long, but like if she has the right packaging and Raphael with the theatrics.
Shaylin touch. I mean, I know we see a lot of Shaylin, but that's sort of what I am craving from Luna is a bit more of a Shaylin version of what.
Yeah, Raphael, Shaylin, put her with those coaches. Boom, it's like a product.
Yeah.
It's like a record label.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
You take 4 girls from Houston who are running around in high heels, you sign them with the record label, Destiny's Child, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's what they're not doing. And that's why we see the ladies' field this year, in my opinion, is wide open. If we're going to really be honest, wide open, because how many of those girls at 4 continents were interchangeable to you? Ava Marie Ziegler was the only one who stood out. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. If you would have told me what the difference in personality or artistry was for the top 3, they all looked relatively the same.
Yeah, the formula is in force, definitely.
Yeah, and it's generic because of the IJS.
Right.
And that's why they all look like that.
Yeah.
Those are the rules. And they're being safe to meet the rules. It's all about points, right? It's not about the skating. And you have to stand out. And if you stand out in skating and then land your jumps, you get rewarded for it.
Right.
Over time.
Well, I think about always what Sandra said, and I'm going to now apply it to Sandra's work, because Lindsay's short program is remarkably different and beautiful, and I love it. But if you're not cleanly landing the jumps, the program doesn't matter. And she told that to us. She's like, the program will only matter if everyone skates clean. Then they look.
Well, let's talk strategy. Because I mean, I think Julia has her merits, but I don't think she's a good strategist. And I would say this to her face. It's too much has happened now. I think Ava is interesting. So when I was skating at Ice House and she was the beginning of the season, the frustration with Ava was always that she was like on the cusp where she would have like, they try to give people at that time 3 international assignments. If you're on the Grand Prix, they typically try to make sure that you have at least 1 Senior B and 2 Grand Prix, right? So that you get the maximum points so that you can then be in the Grand Prix pool for next season and be, in the later warm-up groups at 4 continents and worlds, right? Ava was always like getting assigned 1 Grand Prix and 1 Senior B. They'd be trying to,
something. Yeah.
they'd be trying to get the second. They'd be sweating, right? That's why she's competing in the summer. Why was Lindsay competing in August? Okay, if she's a world level competitor and then she has an injury, well, I wonder why, right? Like if you're there in the summer, like that's poor strategy. Lindsay didn't need to go to South Carolina to some competition that didn't even have a stream. Lindsay was in 3 competitions this season before anyone even saw that short program, okay, that Sandra did. So also, let's look back at Olympic trials in 2022. First of all, there's the terrible program that they had Lindsay doing this Samson and Delilah, this over-the-top dramatic music when she's like a shy, quiet girl. And remember that, Hubba?
Right? Yep, they missed the mark on that one, yeah.
Then there's the fact that they were all taught those jumps by Anton Domenko that had the pre-rotation. And then as soon as you grow, you lose those jumps. So we talked about it with Isabeau a lot, but Lindsay's jumps are not rotated. They're not. Yeah. And she's a great skater. But I cannot say in confidence that I will ever believe that she will do a clean triple-triple again in competition. I don't think it's...
So how much of that here?
Jonathan, also, I'm not done. Remember at 2022 Nationals, on the line, now she was probably going for like an alternate spot on the Olympic team, right? They had her do a triple axel that she had never cleanly rotated.
Right.
And even if you say it was Lindsay's idea or Julia's idea, the fact that that triple axel went out there, that is a coaching issue.
Yeah. You need the adult in the room.
Then you hire Benoit, who gave her that program where there was a car crash in the beginning and she was looking around. I mean, it was like one flop after another. So now you put her in and look at the difference in strategy between Selezhneva and Makarov, who were coached by Igor Moskvin. These are like chess players, right? Ava is always missing out on those points. So they knew that she was injured. And they were like, she has it in her for one good competition. And they decided to go to 4 continents, be rested, ready, primed, and then beat these skaters. So she beat American skaters that were coming from nationals, exhausted, on a time change. Ava could have won nationals at the end of the day. I mean, it was set up for Amber or Isabeau to win, but Ava, these performances would have won nationals, right? And people are like, oh, do you think she's upset that she didn't win nationals? No, I think she's happy that she just beat them internationally. And then now she has potentially more points, right? So that was a strategy. And it looked so good that she skated so well at 4 continents against an international field. So her stock just went here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lindsay did the right thing, competed at both competitions, and her stock is there. Personally, after she competed the way she did at US Nationals, I don't know why they went to 4 continents. That was not going to go well. And now her political stock is like, now everyone's like, oh, how's Lindsay going to do?
Right.
Well, in my opinion, they should have changed things 3 years ago in terms of strategy. I mean, it's just been one thing after another with this girl. She is not, this is why you have Raphael, someone with experience, someone that has done it. And Alyssa Sisney always said the problem is that when you have a coach that's doing it for the first time, they're doing it for the first time, right?
And they have to do it for the first time.
And you have to. And you have to learn these lessons the hard way, right? To get to be Caroline. And you have to have these growing pains. But do you want to be the skater that's getting the growing pains?
Right.
So
well, again, what was so fascinating about Sandra's approach was she wasn't trying to put something on top of Lindsay or make Lindsay something. She was trying to figure out who Lindsay was and pull it out. Like you're saying, a triple axel, I don't look at Lindsay skating and say, oh.
think we have to reconnect.
Sorry.
But you froze, and I don't remember what we were talking about or where we were, and then I started scrolling. So
it's all a blur. It's all a blur. What I was talking about, what was so nice about Sandra working with Lindsay, was that Sandra was looking, who is Lindsay and what should we bring out of Lindsay? I would not look at Lindsay and say, oh, obviously she should do a triple axel. I would not look at Lindsay and say, obviously she should do Samson, or she's a Benoit skater. So I think the more they go into who is the skater and how can we show that, instead of here's this template for a winning program or package that we think exists, and how can we shove our skater into that template. And I think that's
I did talk to someone today that said that they were talking about Benoit and how Brady Tennell breaking her foot on a bracket had to do with the fact that it was the way that Benoit teaches brackets. So yeah, and it had to do. It was a Benoit bracket that she got injured on. So over the front of it. So yeah.
Okay.
That was interesting there. But yeah, I think that is interesting. And
quite frankly, when you see a program,
also, I can't say was US Figure Skating pushing people to Benoit. I think these are the mistakes. But when Lindsay went to Benoit, he was the choreographer du jour to, how do we say this? Like a non-artistic skater, right? Like all of the, I don't know a politically correct way to say this.
It's coming in loud and clear. I know exactly what you mean.
You were not considered to be an artistic skater. You went to Benoit to package. But to me, it became so obvious that that's why people were going to Benoit that it was like a red light to look for the weaknesses.
Yeah.
I think in that program where Lindsay had the car crash, it was maybe one of the biggest Benoit train wrecks I've ever seen.
Okay. I mean,
that program was so much that when people did it, people in the rink were like, oh my God.
Well, and I don't want to watch a program and know who choreographed.
No, plus, and like Lindsay looks nervous when she skates. She has that expression on her face. So her starting the program looking around was not a good vibe. Like she looks much more settled with Sandra. It's very nice. You see the difference in expertise, and I hope that they will use her for both programs next year.
The identifiable part of Sandra in that is that someone is catering this to Lindsay specifically. That's how you knew it was Sandra, not because it's like, oh, look, it's the same formula.
Yeah, I think she's just at that point in her career where she needs that really senior environment and that to work on those skating skills every day so that she has the speed so that she can rotate those jumps. Because I think if you've paid attention to her jumps for a long time, she's a woman and she's full grown, and that technique is designed for itty bitty kids. And it's sad, but the US coaches all tried to copy it, Terry, especially if they had any Russian background, and they tried to copy Dudekov. The only problem is that we don't have the diet or the drugs in the US that those girls are doing, or the ages, right? So, or the pipeline of having 20 of them, right? So everyone who copied that technique is now really in a bad way, because there gets to be a certain point where you can't correct the muscle memory. Or if you do, it takes years and you have lots of bad competitions. So it's upsetting and it's concerning, and there's going to be kind of probably a lost generation. I mean, Ava also worked with Anton, but if you notice, one of the interesting things that she did is that she's talked about that she's trying to do the seatbelt technique in the air that Nathan Chen did, and Ava was always super wild and like super swingy on the landing. And if you notice when she does her jumps, she's now very upright, and then she lands, and it's really working for her. That technique.
And the height she gets on those jumps, like it is clear it is about the trajectory of the jump. The thing that does, not knowing about the technique, something about her in general seems a little bit like the center of gravity in the body is a little high for me. So there's this, at times, I don't feel as like settled watching her, even though someone else may have more of a formulaic program. When they're a bit more in their knees and hips in general, I tend to relax. something is very like up about the arms, and that's something I think I just have to get used to about her skating, I guess.
I
Um,
think that she had outgrown the situation that she was in before, just because her mom was so involved. The coaches hadn't really had top skaters themselves, right? And Ava's biggest problem used to be her landing position and that she would fall a lot. And that when she would fall, her coaches would stop the music and have her redo it.
hmm,
And if you watch her, you can tell that she's doing the full programs and is more disciplined now. I mean, Larissa and Oleg are known for being, they're spoken of Larissa and Oleg, like they're known for being disciplinarians, right? So
and
when you
she's
look,
completely well trained. The stamina was there, the energy was there. She had a
but I
very
don't think that
strong
they've
coach.
changed that much in that sort of time.
Okay.
I think it's like the air position, the training of the full programs, and now you have a talented person who is doing better. So, and I think that she's going to continue to do well if they stay on
Do you
this
think she'll
path.
be listed because they left the alternate for Worlds Open, right? Would she be?
Oh, Jonathan, if I were US figure skating, I would strongly suggest to one of the skaters above her that they withdraw from the competition in monitoring. Honestly, based on how messy Nationals was, and US figure skating knew who they wanted on that team before. So when Ava withdrew from Nationals, you have to look that like she wasn't in line to go to Worlds. She was in line to be the alternate. They pre-select all of this, right? Every year. So, and the judges mark people allegedly, and they mark a certain way. I think there were 4 people that were in it for the World Championships this year. And it was Isabeau, Amber, Ava, Lindsay. And I think national title is between Isabeau and Amber.
Yeah.
And Ava was not thought of beforehand as being one of those people, but she did skate that well. I think next year will be a different story, right?
Yeah.
But I think how healthy are those girls? And frankly, the US has a good shot of getting 3 spots if they can train the skaters to be consistent. And I would look at, honestly, in a perfect world, I would cancel the world team points and be like, as a country, and I would check the health of the skaters, check the consistency, and then decide who to send. Because right now, the top 3 all seem, especially the top 2 going to Worlds, seem very vulnerable and inconsistent, right? Like, could be great, could be a mess, right? And could be a medal, could be a mess. And do I think that both of them will skate well to ensure 3 spots for next year? No, I don't believe that will happen. If one of them does well, I think the other could be a train wreck. That's right. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that has to do with the management of US figure skating as a whole in every area.
Well, even as we were watching also the Youth Olympics that were happening the same time as Nationals and 4 continents right afterwards. And I know that there was probably some sort of NBC, something or other, but stand up at some point and be like, this is the wrong time. Think about all those juniors that were at the Youth Olympics that couldn't even compete at Nationals. That's bonkers.
Also, how are the Youth Olympics profitable?
Well,
who's watching it?
Yeah, I can't quite remember.
Who knows that it happens outside of like the 5 people in sport that are, who's watching that?
And I was surprised. Where did you watch it? Did you watch it on Peacock?
The Youth Olympics? I watched the clips that came up on YouTube.
Okay. Because they weren't.
It was on Peacock. It was.
I couldn't find them, but maybe they were.
It was, but I only watched it because I had a vested interest in knowing who some of the skaters were. Right. And the fact that I produce a live show twice a week where we need content. So that's the only reason why. Although I will say that I thought Olivia Elin is a fabulous ice dancer and was missed in the competition at Nationals in the junior division. And I think she has a lot of star quality and potential. And that was a program that I think Tanith and Charlie did with Greg Zerline. And it was funny because how come Olivia Elin has better packaging than any of the Charlie White Mina teams? They got the good program.
And it was interesting as we sort of looked at the stalling out of Green and Parsons. Obviously, there's been a great deal of discussion. Is it time to leave and find something else? It was clear in their interviews they kept talking about returning to their team, their coaching team to start for next season and all this sort of stuff. So they were definitely making it loud and clear that they are not planning on switching.
I mean, and that's good for them. I think there's a lot of work to do. But I also, I've thought about a lot whether or not they should go. And I think the one thing that Charlie may have a lot of experience in is if you talk to anyone, Michael Parsons and Ian Somerville, they go back training before they were with Charlie. They were in Virginia, right? There's a natural competitiveness because they're both very talented male skaters in a world where the male skater is the hook, the anchor of the team, right? I think that it may be stronger for them to stay together. Because, look, do you want to go to Montreal and be their 20th team that Marie-France is to choreograph for that year?
Right.
You want to be Charlie's second-ranked team, right? They may have more creative and intellectual energy to put beyond, right? Like, I think it really behooves Zingas and Kolesnik to stay with Igor because they're it for him, right? Like, they are his team, so he can put all of that energy into them.
I'm just fascinated.
We had 20 Atari girls. They all looked the same, right?
Right.
And I do notice that with some of the programs in Montreal, not with the top teams, but with the second and third tier, do you think that there's a lot of energy being put into Tim Coletto skating to Ghostbusters, or are the coaches saying, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Also, Sean Redstadt seems to think that the 80s is a success in the meetings, which I just disagree with. And who knew that his husband and he, that they helped consult with the costumes for Zingas and Kolesnik. And I was like, oh, the IS.
I mean, I do love them for the free dance.
I mean, should the rose be red or should it be magenta? Let's talk about that.
I mean, I was okay enough with it. I just thought the overall look and cut and the way it showed off lines and stuff, I thought it was very well.
Yeah, if they want lines, they need a ballet teacher that they go to every day or 3 times a week. And they need to get her out of the skates that she is in because they cut her line and they make her line look very boxy. And they are hideous. They look like she's wearing casts on her feet. And I think that if they are going to move ahead in ice dance, they need to start thinking about the whole look. And this team has the potential for nice line because they don't have a height problem the way that Gilles and Parsons do.
Right.
And they have an overall movement quality, which is why we like them, because we like the upper back of Zingas. Her strength is the upper back, and it's why her dress has the cutout. Yeah. You're supposed to be looking at her back. Yeah. She's a very nice back, like Deanna Stellato, and they need to do things to enhance it, to make her stronger for next season.
Well, again, the way the Federation is thinking came in clear to me. I mean, the judge buried Green and Parsons even below where they ended up placing overall. They had them the lowest, the U.S. judge.
Well, 7. Okay.
They weren't going to cut them any extra.
Okay, so we like Green and Parsons. They have been good kids. They have been very good Team USA. U.S. Figure Skating allegedly advised them to go to Charlie White and not to go to Montreal so that there would be U.S. skaters in the U.S., right? And they've done everything right.
And everything they were told.
Everything they were told. And at the end of the day, I think they have they are. If I had to look at the teams and where they are at, I just don't know where they're going.
Well, and that's the thing. With Zingas and Kolesnik, you see the opportunity for growth. You know it will continue to go places. And I experienced this a bit too with Carreira and Ponomarenko. I was like, I feel like what we see is what we're going to continue to get.
I think Christina has become a star. Anthony has gotten in better condition. He's not a great skater. Look at the ankle. He is not a great skater. He has had all of the best coaches in the world. His parents are Olympic champions. His parents aren't just Olympic champions. They're Olympic gold, silver, and bronze medalists. His mother also failed a doping test for steroids and somehow had the B sample clean. And Irina Rodnina in a Phil Hirsch article said, oh, I didn't know that we doped the ice dancers. I knew about pairs. I'll link that. That is a fact. That is what she said in 1991 to Uncle Phil. Okay, this is a fact. Yeah. Okay, that was published. I'm not being mean. That is published. So you have to look at the history there. I don't see. But Christina on the 1 foot step. Holy shit. Is that
Yeah.
Madison Hubble with her female empowerment? Olympic champion Madison Hubble now.
Yeah.
Wait, have we talked since Team USA got that gold? No, we have not.
No, maybe we talked about we did an episode right after they announced that Valieva was going to be banned for the 4 years. Yeah, that part had come out. The ISU statement about the rankings had not.
That's right, because we recorded nationals on Monday. See, all the days blend together, Jonathan. It doesn't even. What day did I drive home from Lake Placid? I don't even know. Okay, like that's what it's been like. Okay, I don't even know anymore. Okay,
but I mean, I think again, you know, and you were really breaking it down with Christine and Phil and all those sorts of things. And I remember when we were talking to Maya very early on about.
She is such a goddess, is she not?
Is she what?
She's such a goddess, is she not?
Oh,
She's
love
just.
her. I love her, but she was the one that kept saying, because I kept bringing up, well, then Canada gets the bronze, and she was like, oh no, 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 Russia gets the bronze. But in her thinking, also they just erased Valieva's points. End of discussion. Everything else stays the same. But as we saw with the Europeans, they bumped everyone up a spot. They didn't just leave the title vacant and then leave 2, 3, 4. Everyone shifted up. So the fact that Maddie Schizas did not get bumped up is an unusual thing. And Phil was saying to you, he's like, it's intentionally vaguely worded for the team event that you can do it differently. But I was inclined to agree with you that if indeed this was viewed as a gift to Russia, I do not believe that they view a bronze medal as a gift. It would be
viewed as an insult.
Insulting than just.
We saw Svetlana Horkina and Yelena Protonova rip their silver medals in the team event from Sydney off of their necks. You are not going to do that. And I didn't realize that Moskvina had to talk Bereshnaya and Sikralitsa into redoing that medal ceremony from 2002, where I forgot about it. Maya brought that up to me. And Maya said that maybe Team China refused to be a part of it. Like they were asked to be a part of that whole redo of the medal ceremony.
On the bronze step again? Yeah.
And they were like, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have to reread that book and find that out, but I would, yeah, I don't think that that was an effective thing. And by the way, the team's never going to get their medals now. This verdict, the ISU, okay, Cass gave them a green light to settle this.
Right.
Now, I think we knew that Russia was going to be mad if they lost the gold.
Yes.
But now you have 2 people that are going to be mad. Personally, I believe that if Yuzuru Hanyu had been on the Japanese team for the Olympics, this would be decided and settled.
Interesting. That's a good point.
The ISU would not want to deal with that fan group. Okay, could you imagine if Yuzuru Hanyu were being denied an Olympic medal and maybe it would add to his overall Olympic tally? I believe the Fanyu would have this settled. Okay, it would just be done. Okay. If you look at this, no one is happy. And it's going to keep going. Especially you have Canada, you have Russia. And though the team wants this, you know, they're campaigning to be at the Paris Olympics. I mean, it sounds like a fat chance with these other medals. I don't think that the gold will change, but I do think that the bronze is what's going to hold this up now.
But it's fascinating because when you were talking with Christina and Phil, it sounded like they believe it will eventually be changed to have Canada. They were optimistic that Canada will eventually end up with the bronze. And I think they'll probably dig in their heels and not make any adjustments one way or the other.
I think the ISU is going to dig in their heels.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is that all of these organizations have financial problems right now, right? So when Christine is saying, no one's getting back to me, well, they're all overwhelmed. They all have inept communication departments, right? I mean, think about how many viewers the ISU lost on YouTube. If we were to look at their stats for like 2016, 2017, 2018, I would really be curious over the last years without the Japanese and Russian viewers and skaters, how much that has dwindled, right? I mean, they're just not making a dent. So I think when you look at that and the issues of the brands, you know, it's a huge problem. So I don't.
And again, I think not enough attention is being given to the way they adjusted for the Europeans. Because you
Yeah.
did the thing that makes sense for Europeans, and then I'm even curious about that. Are they mailing Anna and Sasha and Lena medals?
And I think the other thing is, yes, maybe Russian athletes want to be back, but does Vladimir Putin really care if they're in the Olympics or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
It might not be that important to him right now.
Or not important enough to sacrifice the things they may have to in order to do it.
I mean, who knows, right? I mean, those are bigger things going on there.
Yeah.
Who knows, you know? And they seem to be moving away from the West. And I think there's a lot of, you know, I would pay very close attention to the amount of shows that Russian skaters are doing in China. The fact that then the Russian skaters are poster spokespeople for selling Chinese cars in Russia. Like, pay attention to all of that. Like, they're making adjustments and they're maybe being, you know, they may be okay with staying out of the games, at least the government, you know, for that amount of time. So they may not care about getting this situation resolved if they think we can hold out.
Yeah.
We're not coming back anyway. And I've always felt that if Russia hadn't been banned for the war in Ukraine, that maybe they would not have taken a year for that investigation. Because
they
what
would
did
have
they
wanted to have gotten Valieva back further. And you said now they're pushing to not have the additional information released, correct?
Yeah, they're pushing to not have that report released, which
And the
there's
report is what everyone's like salivating.
right, and there's a Times article that's quite damning. They did say that one of the three arbitrators disagreed with the other two about Valieva, but it's a it's a 3-person 2-to-1 decision, or at least in terms of some of the arguments. And I think that had they not given the ridiculous argument about her grandfather, who, by the way, like, there's a whole deal about his last name. It's not Valiev, by the way. If they had not given that excuse, not given any excuse, right, it may have been a very different outcome. But was that the fact that they gave that excuse on the heels of all of the other stuff that's happened with Russian doping? Was that just insulting to the court because it makes it viewed that they don't take doping seriously at all? That's what I've always kind of felt. I thought that she would have gotten away with it if they had just a more prudent defense.
It just seemed so panicked in the moment. Like they were throwing.
Then their doctor's an anesthesiologist. He specializes in overcoming toxic levels of lactic acid in training, okay? And the use of xenon gas, which they went to China to sell to Chen Lu and other people in Chinese athletics. What in the actual are we talking about? Okay, like, it gets lost in all of the, and do you know why they focus on the 15-year-old? So that you don't focus on Dr. Shavetsky. And that whole business about the lie detector test, there's speculation among journalists that remember Hayo Seppelt, the German journalist that was in charge of those documentaries, he came on the show. He may have sued him preemptively to try to clear his name in the Valieva case. Like, these are like big, big games that are going on, right? Because remember, he took that lie detector test, so he's able to say to the public, I was clean.
Then you bring in experts that talk about how unreliable lie detectors.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Of course. I used to have that game, Lie Detector, as a kid.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Did you ever have that? That was a terrible game. It was wonderful. I
Okay.
forget what it's even about. It just had like a buzzer and a pen. Did anyone ever have this board game? It had like really like funny looking characters on the cards. Oh, I loved it. It was like Guess Who, but
with lies. Okay.
Loved Guess Who, didn't you?
I did too. I was like, there was
that one woman.
I loved her.
Like the one woman with the hat and the hair, the mustache. Yeah. She looks like a real drag queen, and she kind of looked like Mimi from Drew Carey. I loved her.
That one, yes. Claire, I think her name was. I'm
Claire,
really
yes.
At my skill now. Okay.
Guess Who was the best game? Okay, bring it back. The kids today, they don't know anything. Okay.
But sometimes, Guess Who? That's what it felt like. Sometimes watching like Four Continents, I was like, wait, which person is this again? Because again, they were so much blurring together. Not less so in dance, obviously, but definitely in the
It's so bad when some of those some of those choreographers go over to Japan and they're like, I'm going to give princess music to the nice Japanese girl that seems quiet with not a lot of abundant personality. I mean, they're all doing the same program, okay? And no one is pushing any of them, and it's boring to watch.
Can you remind me who's on the Japanese women's team? Obviously, Carreira.
Jonathan, why are you giving stunt questions? I mean, they
No, I
blend.
know, because sometimes you know how to look up things faster than I do. I was wondering
I
because
believe it's Mone Chiba, right?
yeah, and is the other one Rinka?
I don't, is it? By the way, Rinka said that she's going to, uh, um, she is going to, okay, 2024 World Figure Skating Championships. All the fans have already been like, you idiots, you don't know the Japanese team. That's what they're not the ones that are in dramatic things right now. Japan is Mone, Kawi, oh, and Hana Yoshida, the one with the shoulders that does like the
However,
whole.
I like her material. I like her material this season.
Yes.
So that makes sense to me.
Yes. So
yeah,
it's just
I
Rinka.
Both were sort of interchangeable in the program. I mean, obviously the triple axel is interesting, but other than that, I think it's easy. It becomes somewhat forgettable.
You know what's forgettable? When Maddie Skiza skates to Summertime on a Sunday afternoon, or like when you wake up and you're watching skating, it becomes like golf. You ever like fall asleep with golf on? It's great now.
It's like ASMR for people. Yeah.
Maddie Skiza skating to Summertime is like, give me the Carhartt blanket. Like I can't make it through the program. I'm sorry. Like I don't know what you're doing.
And that's another one. Like for her, this was a more successful outing of the free skate. I've never seen someone that can either seem like it's going to be fine or it's going to just definitely not be. The ups and downs perplex me because she seems like a hard worker. So I don't understand where the disconnect is for her.
I think there's overall restrictions in her movement and her that would do with off ice people, just in how she moves her body, right? That she seems like very high in the shoulders, very tight. And I think that she could benefit from movement specialists off ice that could work on muscle imbalances and correct her. But at this point in her career, it's like, well, is it too late? Is it the goal? It's a lot of work. Yeah.
The tough watch here, in addition to watching Lindsay struggle, although we sort of knew going in to expect.
Do you think Lindsay should have gone I get wanting to go to 4 continents, but do you want to go in that way?
No, it did her no favors.
Especially because nationals was that bad. I mean, she's skating through jumps, Jonathan, at 2 competitions in a row.
What about Hae-In Lee? That was a really tough watch. And she had said in some interviews afterwards that something personal was happening behind the scenes right before 4 continents, all this sort of stuff. It was very cryptic.
And I find Hae-In Lee to be a tough one because, like Luna, the jumps are so cheated that you're having to like look away.
Yeah. If they happen, I mean, I don't know what was going on. I mean, this was a very tough outing for her.
And she has a wonderful personality, and a wonderful effervescent quality, but yeah, it's really tough. I don't know. The women's event was.
I don't know where they go from here with that.
And it's so funny because the women's event was bad, right? And it's funny because we've had really great women's competitions. But the real hardcore fans, they used to say the ladies, and instead of the S, they would put Z, 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 because you weren't getting the quads. And that's what this felt like, the ladies event. It just was not it.
Yeah. But now, compare and contrast that, I thought, even though we did not have the most artistic men in some of my favorite programs of the season at this event, the men's event by comparison was flying by. Because there was, I don't know why this is, but there seems to be the possibility, even within the system, even within the current situation, that there is more variety among them.
Yeah, and I have to say, other people, there's the whole thing about Ilya Malin in nationals. So I had talked to people, he had switched his boots the week before nationals, but it's like, why are you switching your boots the week before nationals? And the one thing I will say is that, I mean, Nathan Chen had to beat Vincent at nationals, which was not easy, and Jason, but he always delivered at nationals, just about. He delivered. Ilya has bombed 2 free skates when he was favored to win. And then last year at Worlds, he did not get it done.
Right.
We do have some concerns over his ability to practice being consistent under pressure, rather than just doing it when all of the pressure is on. And you see it in NCAA gymnastics, how much better the teams get when they're constantly under pressure and dealing with this. But the fact that his free skates can vary so wildly in terms of success and popping, and yes, he's trying extremely difficult content.
And switching it out, like that part changes from competition to competition too, which I can't imagine helps create more consistency.
But look at Yuma Kagiyama and how steadily and expertly he's coached. And look at how they look at the total package. I'm sorry, but people have issues with Ilya's skating skills. And if I look at how Yuma is performing, I do, yes, Ilya has a huge technical advantage. Absolutely. But I think if you look at 2 years from now, I'd be worried about Yuma, because he just is improving all aspects of his skating.
And even as he was just beginning to ease in, 1 quad here, 2 quads here, that triple flip was pretty, or that quadruple flip was pretty darn close here, but you seem to trust their process. Sometimes we're told someone's in a process and you're like, okay, whatever. But this one, they seem very thoughtful about what they're doing and when.
And I would just look at his results over time. 2001 Worlds medaled, 2022 Olympics medaled. I think 2024 Worlds he will medal, right? Like that's just someone that delivers like Ali Reisman, right? Like you are just delivering over and over again.
And continues to grow and become stronger.
Yeah.
It was quite remarkable, especially that short program is just.
Yeah,
so
because I think we're going to get in a situation where if Yuma skates well, Ilya can't really make many mistakes.
Yeah. If you are going to rely on the technical advantage, it has to be there.
Yeah.
And let's see, who knows what their big picture plan is, knowing how they're taking sort of baby steps into
That's
it.
also not to say that Ilya can't win Worlds. I think Ilya absolutely can win Worlds. I think he's absolutely the favorite to win Worlds. But I do think that
deliver to win it. Yeah.
Deliver to win it. They're going to force a certain level of expertise.
Yeah. Now,
but
I love Yuma's skating skills. I love his content. I love all that he stands for. Despite all the mistakes, I am obsessed with Junhwan Cha's material this year. I love the Batman opening. I love it so much. I think one time he was able to land that quad toe with the music swell. It's always a little bit disappointing when it doesn't happen because it's so epic in the music during that landing.
Do you miss Tracy with him? I mean, she was so full of her best bullshit at this competition. It was so good. Oh my God, I love it. I'm sorry. I know she's completely full of it. And I love watching it. And I love the energy when she puts her glasses on the top of the head. Like she was just like, I don't know, painting on an oil canvas at home, or that she was like running the library. Oh my God.
And then pause to check out this amazing moment. Yeah.
Yes. And then she's just like, oh, Jason. You skated so well. Bo Yang Jin, first of all, there is not a transition in that program on the first 2
the quad lots, I was like, okay, it's very clear.
And before the second quad as well. It is so ridiculous. But he looks
like 2
great.
feet straight down the ring. But it happened.
And people are like, oh, he's so much better artistically. And you're like, well, sort of. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
I think he's taking Pilates with the cricket club now. His deportment is getting better. But
again, the content we saw technically here, I did not know he would have still been capable of. And I thought it was yes, there was no entrance to it, but that was a remarkable quad lots.
I think Tracy would tell us he's improved so much, Jonathan. Artistically, he's just coming alive. You know, he's doing their edge class that they invited Yuzu to, you know, and I think Tracy is just mastering this.
Well, it was clear there were a lot of performances.
Should we send Lindsay there? Should we send Lindsay there? Tracy could be like, Lindsay.
Would they take her?
Yes, they need to rebuild.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that.
There are a lot of rumors about who's going to the cricket club. You know, they're bringing in Team Italy before Worlds. Memela's been there. Kimi Rapond. there's speculation that Kimi Rapon may be there next season because her sister's going to be at university. So I would just look at all of it and yeah, listen, I think.
But even like you were saying with Raphael, like having the name attached settles you. It is clear sometimes I am perplexed by what happens in Korea with the planning and strategizing of things. And I don't know if it was because he won the silver medal, but they yanked him out of Detroit and brought him back to Korea, or not Detroit, Toronto. And I can't help but feel maybe these seasons would be, going along differently if he was still there, because there's so
I would certainly feel more relaxed if he were in Toronto.
Yeah, and again, the program material is outstanding. I love the short program as well, but I am preemptively nervous for him every time.
He just seems stressed.
Yeah.
And everything about the Korean Federation feels stressful to me.
Yeah, I agree.
All those competitions.
And last season before Worlds, he returned to Detroit. I keep saying Detroit.
Toronto.
He had returned to Toronto right before Worlds, and then obviously did so wonderfully at Worlds after having been in Korea with up and down performances throughout the rest of the season. So I'm just unsure what's happening there.
Yeah.
Because I want him to do well, because I so believe in what he stands for.
Yeah. I much preferred him to the other men in the top four.
Yeah.
Aside from Yuma, but I love that free skate. I love the music. It's so fantastic. The cover of Nirvana is so nice. It just works really well.
It moves. It hits all the right moments.
Yeah.
I think Shun Sato, who is not an artist and is doing some remarkable technical content when it works. What I appreciate is that it's still a thoughtful program. Yeah. They're still trying to give him a vehicle that makes him more artistic. He is not Junhwan Cha, he is not Yuma, but at least they're trying. And I appreciate, even though it doesn't always seem heartfelt, the movement and the packaging is there. It is good music. They are interesting moves, and he's basically doing it. And Sota, I actually think like the short program wasn't a bad idea. But you can tell it's not maybe organic to him.
Yeah, and Wesley Chu
fail. It's easy to bear.
I continue to find Wesley Chu to be a tough watch because he's an athlete, but I don't see the artistic soul.
The in-betweens are tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And Roman Sadovsky was here. He continues to be one of the most talented Canadian skaters.
One of the most beautiful artists inherently. I truly believe it. Truly believe it.
They are not managing that crew.
And who knows, maybe, I don't know in these moments, especially on the outside, is this a Roman issue regardless of who he's with, or is it too familiar and too lax with the coaches? I don't know.
Or both.
Yeah. But
I just noticed
loss here if he
doesn't. You see the potential. Yes, he's been out of competition, but he has been training for several months. And I know it takes time to get your competitive feet under you. But often when he trains and he lands an element, it doesn't look like he automatically goes from one element to the next. It looks like he hasn't trained enough so that he doesn't know how to recover in any situation.
Like it's all compartmentalized. His sort of, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But the skating.
Watch his short at nationals, watch his programs here. Like it just is nothing seems automatic. And the choreography is so awkward in both programs for him. And I don't think it really meets his body that well. I find the opening of the short to be very uncomfortable to watch. Like it's just very awkward and not great.
What it is. For some reason I'm not.
Like he shakes from side to side. It's very weird.
Yeah. Because actually he's such a lyrical mover.
Mm-hmm.
Just let him do that.
Yeah.
Just let him do it. Now, this is not to make an excuse because we know Roman and Maddie have struggled with consistency often. How much do you think, like, for instance, Maddie is thinking about all of this Olympic stuff?
I mean, I think she's thinking about it. Sure.
I mean, maybe she thought she was getting a bronze. Now she's not getting a bronze. She did do, to her credit, she delivered at that team event and is not being moved up. I don't know, were people asking, is it an endless subject matter that she's had to focus on?
Of course. Yes, but that could also motivate you to go out and do well this week.
Yeah.
I think at that point, I think at this point in time, something that happened 2 years ago, you have to put in your mind for 2 years ago if you're going to go out.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's being brought up and it's distracting and it's frustrating. But
yeah,
I mean, I think for her, it's a nice added bonus. If you were going to be fourth and you're going to be third, well,
right.
What did Canada ever think they were going to finish in that team event, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's a tough spot. It's bad for everyone in the sport for this to keep going on. You have to wonder. Chalk and Bates were very sick when at nationals, and then they were on the Today Show, and they seemed so out of it. But and it's hard to know because Madison has that like Canton ice dancer personality where they never really say anything. And when Hoda asked them and Savannah asked them if they were going to go for 2026,
they raised their hand.
They didn't immediately raise their hand though. It was like Alexa goes, "We're gonna watch that."
Which wasn't the thing that Evan made Alexa raise her hand. Yeah.
Yes. But it was very awkward, and I don't know if that was because they were exhausted.
Alexa off. That's the first time that's ever happened. That's really funny. Oh. Mrs. Knierim.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is music for 2026. And someone brought something up to me that I find horrifying. And I need you to hold my hand and tell me that this is not going to happen. Do you know how I hate pandering, okay? And things that make me vomit are when people are like, oh, we're going to all skate to Celine Dion because we want to pander to the audience at the Montreal Worlds. And I'm like, oh, no.
It doesn't. It's not 1999.
Jonathan, is everyone going to do like Nessun and all of the Fellini programs for the Milan? Like we are Andre and Valentina and all like Gabrielle Frangipani and Capolini and Lenote.
And again, my question to you is like, okay, let's say you want to pander that way. We know like that was Marina's strategy with the Scheherazade and Sochi and all that sort of stuff.
Well, I would do it for the Russian arrogance, not for the fact that I'm endearing to the public. I'm like, they're the most arrogant country in the world. We should do this and skate.
I think like if you wanted to do that and be like, let's use Italian opera, go ahead. Just please promise me you'll just get a little curious about it and YouTube something more than Tosca and Turandot. There is so much. There is so much that is just as good. So if you wanted to go an Italian opera sort of situation, please write me. I will give you the list of 20 operas that will have perfect music for you that is not so overdone.
I just don't want this to be the Marcotte family values, where we are.
We'll get to it with the pairs. I mean, that was
Listen,
the choices are horrendous.
Did Riku and Ruichi even meet Bruno's father? And why are we skating this program for him? And why are they so boring? And oh my God, they seem like lovely.
That was a really disappointing choice that seemed very phoned in. And if that's your musical taste and that's the best you can do, I would just hope you have the wherewithal to ask someone else to weigh in. Because, I mean, well, we might as well now transition into the pairs. Knowing that they were at limited training and all this sorts of thing, I needed a reminder that they were world champions. And the program could have been a reminder. This is a stellar team. That throw triple Lutz and the free skate was out of this world. But maybe, I see that they're world champion type skaters and type material. They just didn't have the training behind them. Instead,
he's such a good coach.
Yes, it seems that he is.
Except for the musical packaging.
And that's important.
But he's so good at the other aspects.
In the same way, Raphael isn't picking.
And why is everyone using Julie? Let's discuss that family. And what is the real deal when like Eric is coming back and we're pretending that Bruno doesn't know and his sister's coaching them? And if she didn't tell, like that is all sorts of messiness. And why are we on these?
Eric is coming back.
What?
Did you say Eric is coming back?
You remember when Eric came back before
but I see
last Olympics? Megan was a little upset. She was the last to know.
Oh, got it.
I seem to remember Megan didn't take that news, the best.
Well, you could have felt blindsided by that. I totally was.
Julie may not be her secret Santa for the holiday season. I'm just putting it out there. They might not be the closest.
Yeah. Okay. There are different rooms at the holiday party.
With that Edith Piaf program, maybe they shouldn't be. But or the Alice in Wonderland. That was, oh yes.
I hear that even Megan was resistant on that. And that's what, again, Sandra, she knows you don't just pick an idea and force people into the idea. You have to look at the people and be like, this is inspiring this idea. I do not look at the Japanese pair team and think Celine Dion. I don't get that connection.
Well, unfortunately, remember how Sandra used to talk about Christy Yamaguchi and how they would give her constantly different genres and pieces of music to develop her persona, but to also stretch her. Now, she was not a sassy tango skater, but she did make a very pleasant program, Teloku Parsita, right? It might have been a bit commercial in 90s, but they were constantly pushing her in different areas. Madame Butterfly. Then they would do like the 100% Pure Love, and they'd have the fun program and the serious program and the Romeo and Juliet and the Madame Butterfly. Like they were constantly, and the Invoke. So they were constantly like, and she was like a Barbie doll in that sense, because she could do anything, right? But they were trying to encourage the versatility. And that's lost. That's no longer done in skating under the IJS. They do easy, 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 easy. And then you have what happens to like the women, right? Because it's hard to be versatile and to push and to research and to do it. And it all takes time. Unfortunately, what has happened with the Japanese team is they are generically lovely and boring as shit because they have been boxed in with bad music choice after bad music choice. It's really crazy that their best free skate was a knockoff of Marissa and Mervyn, right? Where they did right?
And again, if look at them, why are they such fan favorites? Because the minute they end, they are smiley and huggy and real people exuding the joy and all this sort of stuff. What's wrong with giving them a joyous program that gives us that feeling? This was such a miss. And I know even when you were talking to him before and he threw out other ideas they've all been misses.
Do you think that they would be more popular in Japan if they worked with different people on coming up with better music ideas? Why are they not resonating with the public? They're world champions. Japan hasn't had a world champion in pairs yet, but they don't move the needle.
But I think the athletes are easy to love. And because we like them, we tolerate the programs and material. And I think, again, why does it have to be such a closed circle of people working with them?
Did you listen to yourself? You just used the word tolerate.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you be excited to watch the world champions?
Of course. And they have the ability to be exciting. And for me to want to, I believe 100% they could bring you more. And she has often mentioned that she idolizes Sway. You think she would have ever gone out and done sort of this like generic, interchangeable Celine? I don't know. It was, they're definitely worthy. They deserve better.
I don't know which program bored me more that the Japanese did.
Yeah. And again, I think it's not due to a lack of ability.
No.
Some people we know like couldn't give you more than that generic program. I believe very much that they can.
And they can do the throws, they can do the levels. I'm very concerned about her triple toe. That is always an issue and does not seem to be in the best place right now.
Yeah.
This season may be successful for them. It could also be a wash, right? That doesn't mean that they're not going to be successful in the future. I just hope that they get new programs for next season. And
go outside of the circle. It's so limiting.
It's time.
Yeah.
At least for one of the programs. Julie will understand. She's got Deanna.
But what's fascinating, and now I don't know if this is because Deanna is very forceful about her opinions or her stage in life gives her a different kind of perspective that she can speak up and be more collaborative about it. Their material looked very specific to them.
Yes, because Deanna picks the music. Although Max found the Oxygen song, but yes, she is.
But both are so much more interesting.
Right, but Bruno is picking the music for the Japanese, but Deanna and Max are picking the music for themselves. And I do think that at a certain point in time, an athlete needs to own their own career and own their own music choices.
Now, maybe it's easier with time and age. I mean, what we have heard about the Japanese pair is that they are a dream to teach because they are so eager to suck up the information, apply the information. They are very hardworking. So I could see them taking a back seat and being like, well, whatever you think is best, we'll skate to it. But you will always skate to something differently if you have chosen it because it resonates with you. And this, how could this resonate with them? But the Dracula, the Oxygen, that so clearly resonates with Deanna and Max. And so they're giving you the performance. You're looking forward to those programs.
Do you remember Adam Rippon won the Japan Open in the fall of 2010? He was with Brian Orser at the time, and he skated to Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto No. 2, which can be a very trite and overdone piece, or it can be a beautiful.
But it is a magnificent piece of music. Yeah.
And he had a great David Wilson program to it, but he picked the music. And I remember him saying, I listen to that piece every morning when I'm getting ready. And I have pieces of music like that I always listen to in the shower. Like my next program, I'm listening to it constantly, thinking of where I want to cut it and how I want to put it together, right? And I just think that if you're a skater, you have to have that artistic side. And unfortunately, the IJS has really killed that part of skating because it doesn't matter as much, unfortunately, because they have to change the rules. And I think what they're trying to do at Congress to get rid of one of the jumps, and I know people will freak out that they want to get rid of one jump because, and they're going to say it's still a sport. And you're like, yeah, but to get rid of like the extraneous double axel in a program so that people have more time to skate and express themselves, I think the balance will be better. And they're also talking about the one choreographic spin. It's like, let's just try it. Let's just give you a little more personality so we have a little less Cha-Yoon Kim. Right. Okay? Because right. I cannot watch that. That looks like something that was forced on her. The giant cross, everything. This is a teenage girl. Okay? Like, and
it seems derivative of the Russian approach. Instead of
by the way, Lashai is worried about Gracie's book. She's like, it's approved by USFS and promoted at nationals. It's going to be a letdown. I don't agree. Because I've talked to a couple people who have read it. I asked Luis Radnovsky. It's so funny. They have not given this book out to everyone. Only a couple people have gotten it. Phil has it. Luis asked the publisher for it, and apparently it was like on this like link, that you couldn't share it. And someone that worked in entertainment told me that they had read it, but there's a lot in there. And Luisa Radovsky said that she had put it down several times because I said, how triggering is it going to be?
And again, I am shocked, just like La is, that USFS would have approved something that was kind of raw. I mean,
Jonathan, she's too famous. They can't even control that. They have to get behind it. Would you want Gracie Gold mouthing off about you?
Right. But maybe she already has in the book. I don't know. That maybe the Federation comes out okay. But we were hearing today that she does talk about sexual assault in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Horrifying.
Horrifying. Yeah. And safe sport and the failings of safe sport.
Yeah.
So, and there's also a USFS lawsuit about an Olympian who is coaching. And that this has been going on for decades. And there are two current people, but then I started to get messages on Facebook who were coached by this person 30 years ago. That was like, well, you have to look at the history of what's happened and marrying a student that got pregnant and all of this stuff. And you're like, oh my goodness, like there's just horrifying things that are happening. And I think skating has really sort of skated by, not to use the pun, but they have not had the full reckoning coming. And I think it's because skating is individualized, right? Gymnastics happens in a group setting and skating lessons are one-on-one.
Yeah.
Paid one-on-one. And oftentimes, is the parent complicit, right? Or is the parent part of the problem that's paying for you to be with the abusive coach, right? Like all of these things, I think in gymnastics there is strength in numbers because of the way that that is organized. So look, there were 20 people at a national team camp, right? When some of this stuff happened, it happened to more than one person, and there was like that solidarity. So I think in skating, people are more individualized. And I think we see in the case of what happened with Nikolai Sorensen, you know, my fear for he competed here, right? If that victim were not anonymous and had given an interview and there was a face and a story and an emotion put behind that story, I believe it would be easier to for them to have to sit out of that competition, right? And this is just the way the world works. It's not on the victim to have to um, make it all okay for the organization, right? And to make people behave okay. And that's not their responsibility, but I'm talking about the reality of the political pressure, right? And how these things blow over and why Skate Canada would want to stay quiet because the less oxygen you give a story, it starts to die down, right? And how many people care about the 4 continents that are broadcast on Peacock, right? All of a sudden that story dies, right? But and look at Delilah was back at nationals, right? And all of that. And it makes you wonder about the failings of that system, right? And I think it's very sad. But Gracie Gold saying that something happened to her after Ashley Wagner said that something happened to her. Now you have two of the US's top skaters. They were the biggest rivals, and they were both victims of sexual assault. Is there something in the structure of figure skating that is not protecting these girls? I think you have to look at that. That is really bad.
Yeah.
That is really alarming. Okay. And you have to look at it. And then you're talking about this. It's like there's enough happening. There are enough lining up that I would look at that very seriously. You know, journalists to be pulling in. And I think this is terrible to say, but I'm really glad that the victims or alleged victims. I hate to use the word alleged victims. Yes, they're victims.
Cast doubt, and
it casts doubt. It counts like I don't believe what they're saying, right? But typically they're alleged victims. It's not proven, right? And it's just like there needs to be like better terminology, right, for this. But I get it. And then I see the other side, but you have to say alleged, right? Okay. I'm glad that they have a lawyer that seems to be filing a federal lawsuit because it is very hard.
So now we're back to talking about the article about the coach in South Carolina.
The coach in South Carolina. Again, but why doesn't the newspaper article name the coach? I don't understand that. Why it was I believe it was leaked or some to the media.
I mean, we all figured it out, but yeah.
Well, we all figured it out because people just started tweeting what the name was.
Yeah. And the horrifying moments in these stories is like, oh, of course it's that person. Of course it's because blah, 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 blah. And you're like, oh my gosh, you all knew. It was like an open secret that this was going on.
But that article says that there's one Larry Nassar in gymnastics and there are hundreds. And listen, I don't know there's just one in gymnastics, by the way, but I think that the statistics of safe sport disprove that. But there are many coaches that could be in trouble in the sport. And I think you look at it, it's worrying and concerning, and that there are things that need to be addressed with. And I will say in both cases of Ashley and Gracie, if you read those details, it had to do with the skaters socializing at parties at the events and what goes wrong there. In addition, and that's not even, neither one is even saying a coach. These are saying other skaters, right?
Right.
So, you know, and I think that, you know, the way that this all went down, you know, Ashley's statement, you know, it got so much attention. She went on video. She really did it. You know, how did that happen? Right. And I think that there needs to be an investigation into, well, how did that happen if she was in Colorado at a camp? And how did that all take place?
What
and
do
that,
we change now to ensure
what
this
do we
does
change
not
within the
happen again?
federation to make sure that this doesn't happen to other people?
And then again, she was very vocal then. Whatever happened with that? Wasn't it Lori Parker's daughter? who got that position, and it so angered Ashley.
Now she has another position within the federation, but it's not directly overseeing athletes.
They did end up switching that.
Mhm.
Good.
Yeah, but her husband is assistant coaching for Tammy. It's just like all.
Yeah.
So there's a lot happening in skating, and I think a lot will continue to come to the surface. I think once we all read Gracie's book, which I linked in the description box, you can get your copy on Amazon. And Jonathan said, we're moving it up on the book club. We are going to do this ahead of Narita.
We have to do Gracie next.
It's the moment of the time.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to read both at the same time. I think that one, because I'm going to need to be inspired artistically if we're going to read something that's going to be heavy, right?
And it seems very clear it's going to be very heavy.
Yes, I mean by the title alone. I mean, so I think we should be inspired artistically while we are, looking at it, and I think kind of pairing the books is the right decision to do, in that case. And I think the Gracie's book, it's unfortunate, but I've always felt that in these societies, celebrity matters. And I've always wondered if the gymnasts in the Nasser case were not famous, right? It just so happened that one person put their name out, right? And then there were multiple accounts, and then an Olympian said, "This happened to me," right? And as they became public, more people became public. And then it became, you're going to deny the Olympic gold medalists that they were something to happen. So if Ashley and Gracie banded together and said there's a problem in figure skating, I think that they could make a lot of noise and change a lot of things. Because now you have two of US figure skating's biggest stars of the last decade saying that this happened to them.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot that they will have to look at because of that. And I have to say that the amount of hate that Ashley Wagner has gotten, even from other victims, okay, saying that their abuse was worse, is disgusting. Okay,
this is not a competition. It's all horrifying, and changes need to be made.
And you know what? She went on the record about it. Did she take heat in skating? Yeah. And maybe, so I think this all happening, I think Gracie, what she's all of a sudden, Save Sport gave a statement about Gracie's, about like a thorough look and investigation at it that they don't usually give. So the fact that there is wattage behind it but it's unfortunate, but it shouldn't be. But all of a sudden, like in the Sorensen case, how many people were attacking the story and the veracity and the victim without knowing who it was, right? But now in Gracie,
if they did, yeah.
Now in Gracie's case, you have Gracie, who was in the United Airlines commercial, who was the darling, saying that something happened to her. People are going to side with her more.
Right.
And that's just the way the world works. And that's not, but hopefully the amount of things happening together can ban things. Well, look at that. Even in the Sorensen case, the victim is alleging it happened at a party where skaters were involved, right? Skaters, young people, alcohol, improv, right? Ashley's, Gracie's, the Sorensen case.
Yeah.
Are these competitions safe for athletes? And you go back to different people and there's like, well, when I roomed with X, Y, and Z at my junior Grand Prix, this happened. When I roomed with this one, this happened, right? And I think that that's what you really have to start to look at. And some of these cases. So it's not just the coach. How safe are they?
It does look like, while you're talking about this very serious subject, that like I am like fading into the mist.
That's okay. That's okay. I just got like really serious, Jonathan. It's okay. You broke up. That it's good. I just went into like a really like serious.
It's very real what you're talking about. 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, it's horrifying, but I think that there's a lot to look at, and I'm sure that things will change within. I think Gracie said in 10 to 20 years. Well, I do think in time things will continue to change in the sport. So, I mean, think about it. Those boarding houses were closed in Lake Placid, but maybe that is that thing from the past that should,
Yeah, and I get it. I'm sure on the outside you're like, oh, how silly. It seems this would be so easy and stuff. If it prevents one of these things from happening, close the damn house.
Yeah.
You know?
Imagine what could happen in the house. Come on.
Yeah, 100%.
So anyway, the pairs.
Meanwhile, your girl Deanna did it.
Okay. Love her the most. You know. Why?
Well, I'm intrigued because sometimes I feel like I have a comment and then I'm like, well, I know Dave really loves her, so I'm just going to let it go.
She has my phone number. I believe Deanna took her reaction too far after the short program.
1000% massive misstep. Not charming, not a neat little indication that this is where I was going to go as well. Yes, we love that she wanted to do it well. We have also seen Max land them and her falter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was nothing to the camera. He was nothing but supportive. I would absolutely believe in a team scenario like this, where we saw other teams where even, who was Scott with? Oh, Christina and Anthony. Christina had that issue where something happened on the Twizzle, I think it was, and they were trying to cheer her up in the kiss and cry, and we're like, it's okay, we got this. It has to be a team effort. And then in the post interview, to also throw him under the bus, it's a very icky look. It makes me not want to. I will root for her because I so love all the things she stands for, but like that was a real turnoff moment.
I don't think it's, I have to say with Deanna, I don't think it's that she has bad character. I
No,
think she's so intense and wants it so badly. Deanna's had a lot of trauma in her life that we don't even like talk about, right? I mean, her father died in a plane crash, like
terrible,
when she was
terrible.
young.
Yeah,
Okay. So you could imagine someone like that feeling out of control, just like settled, right? Like, and then looking for ways to control. So I think her intensity and like, is that a need for control, right? Like in that whole dynamic, right? That we've always seen with her. And I think Max seemed stressed because, and that's what Megan was saying.
I was stressed watching it, and I wasn't even there. Like, I would never want as a partner to feel like if I make an error, I have to handle that wrath. If
Always
you
note
did it
with
on
Deanna,
purpose, like,
no,
come on.
it's the 3 jump combo that always gets her. Just watch it. Because think about it. She's constantly like reacting and watching to how he's doing, right?
Just do your job, stay in your lane. And if he doesn't do it that day, at least you did. I just, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
I'm wondering if they should just do triple toe, double toe, single or double X, right? Like at a certain point, they may need to go easier with the side by side jumps and just let it happen, which she will never do because she will want the maximum points, right? But she is getting in their own way.
Yes. I get
She
the enthusiasm.
she is the reason for their success because she is so fabulous, right? And she is so driven. But the flip side of that is when it goes wrong and she is too intense. Even watching when they come off after the break.
You're creating now. The next time he goes out, he's thinking about your reaction to the jump before he even does it, I would assume.
Everybody used to shit on Megan for her reactions in the kiss and cry, right? For years. Everybody used to be like, oh my God, here she goes. Deanna doesn't even wait until they get in the kiss and cry.
No.
And I have to say that this is a strategic misstep on her behalf. Now, I know that the judges are busy, right? But if you're going to place Deanna and she finishes that ending pose and then she's immediately like, and you missed this and I missed that and it's okay. But I'm going to be like, watch her reaction to see how good that skate was. Because she's telegraphing, look at all of the errors.
Right. If you fake it like you just nailed it, they'll give you those extra points. And it's something I was thinking about. Like
if I were a judge, I'd just be like watching her.
Yeah. To be like, did we miss something on the replay? Like, should we flag something else? Because she's about to tell us that. And it is a performance. And so we see, especially in ice dance, they're like in character before they even take the opening pose. these skaters that are like beating up their legs and like trying to remember how to jump right before they start and want us now to be transported with them. It's odd. It still is a piece of theater. Yes, it's a sport. Look at synchronized swimming. They don't come out and stretch. They do that whole little vignette on the platform. Like the performance has begun the minute you take the ice. So when I see someone, you know, beating up their legs or trying to practice something seconds before they begin, it takes me already out of the performance. And if you don't even let that final moment land and let me take in what I just seen, and you go into analysis and emotional mode the minute the program is over, it's a jarring step out of what was a lovely program.
Do you think it's really unsportsmanlike, or is it an anxiety problem?
I don't think, yes, the compassion comes from, I don't think she's in control of it. But I think it's something to work on and look at. I don't think she's trying to be rude, but I think it's reading away, and maybe something should be talked about.
She also listed all of the problems with going to 4 continents against them in the press conference after the short. And all of the reasons she listed were valid. Part of Deanna's problem is that she's smarter than the other skaters.
Right.
You ever hear someone that says it's easier to coach a dumb athlete than a smart athlete?
Of course. Yeah.
She is that smart, and she has seen the real world, and she has seen things go badly, right? So I think that's like her strength and also her weakness, right? And I think that before Worlds at home in Montreal at this point in her career, they mention her age every moment. Whether she says it or not, do you think she hears that clock ticking? And then you think, if we don't medal this year, are we going to medal next year? Well, what if Russia's back? Are we going to medal next year when Russia's back? And what about when the Japanese are healthier? If the Japanese are healthier, and how come we only have a 4-point lead? We only have a 4-point lead against the Japanese going into long, and we've been missing the 2-jump combo. Do you think we're going to do it?
You're like,
do you feel stressed?
Practice. We're just at practice. Like, and again, think about what that does to the body. Even as you were just talking that way, my body starts to go in and up. The opposite.
Come on. What do you think Deanna's internal dialogue is really like?
Intense.
They may tell you at the end of the day, I took 16 years off of skating, so my body is younger, which is true. Like, her body hasn't taken the beating of someone who's 40 on Stars on Ice that, you know, like Roz, right? But at this point, you are still 40. Your reaction time is your reflexes and all of that stuff. So, you know, I think that she has a lot of stress, right? But in
which case, I would hope that then it means she could enjoy it more. Then relish every competition.
Listen, Deanna and Max, between now and Worlds, meditation, I think couples counseling, sports psychology together. I think we need to be kind to each other. I think we need to go to lunch, you know, several times a week. I think that we need to work on our visualization and I think she mentioned neurofeedback once. They need to really work on it, because their hurdle to climb before Worlds is not technical. It's mental. And
again, she has a big moment here to really endear herself to the public. But those kinds of comments in the press conferences and the sort of body language and behavior post the short program, it's very off-putting.
She stood up and wanted to leave before the partner in the kiss and cry.
Which again, we know must come from something inside that is much deeper and more complicated. It reads as a temper tantrum of a child.
It's reading when you start to get text messages during a competition. Ooh, Deanna's mad. Ooh, watch her. And you just know. You just know automatically what's happening.
Because again, sometimes the person that biffed it was her.
Yes.
Maybe she does expect that sort of treatment when she does it too, but they don't do that.
Oh, Jonathan.
See that way.
100%. If she acts that way towards him, she's 10,000 times meaner to herself.
I know.
Meaner
to herself. And that may take looking at as well, because that's not the only way to get better.
Self-compassion for Deanna would go a long way.
I think so. And I think inherently, when you've been raised a certain way or you are used to a certain system, you don't believe anything else will work.
Yeah.
If you lose that hardness on yourself, then it will all go away. And it's like, no, I bet it stays in. You may even enjoy yourself.
And that passion is why they're so interesting. I mean, their free skate this year,
Committed. They
it's
are
committed.
to it. Yeah.
It's a weird watch for the first half, and then the second half you get into it if it's going well, right? Like I find the first half with the dialogue maybe not my cup of taste, but I don't know that I need to like it. I'm interested, right? Like I'm intrigued. I don't look away. The Japanese program, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, let this end. What do we miss, right?
What are my plans? Yeah.
I don't know that I don't know that their free skate is easy viewing, but I'm interested the whole
Yeah.
time, right?
100%.
And it's an experience, right? And you don't know if they're going to land the jumps or not. If you're going to have a Skate Canada moment or a different moment, it's the most interesting free skate I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Again, they believe in it. They're
Listen,
ready.
she's a 40-year-old woman who like left her husband behind, didn't see him during COVID, and she's got blood hanging out. I'm watching that. Okay,
We're in. Yeah.
we are in.
And the
Okay,
locations are just stunning.
yeah,
Just stunning.
stunning, and she's going for it, and they have all of the ability to be the best team in the world.
Yeah.
And to medal, and to do this, and to do that, right? And you're like, whoa. And their twist is just gorgeous, and the lift.
Gosh, what about Chelsea and Balage's twist?
Oh, it's huge.
Oh my gosh, was that amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, some other things need some work, but like, I was like, oh, okay. That was, to me, that was the twist of the event.
No, it's a great twist. It's a great
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
Also, Danny and Ellie, how did they medal?
And how didn't they come out ahead of the Japanese overall?
No, not. Wait.
Did I make that up? Or was that
I
just?
think listen, I'm tired, but I don't think that like
No,
that.
I was like, wait, hold on. That's not the case, is it? Yes. Well, in the free skate.
How? When is the last time she landed a jump? Like that you felt good about? Okay, like that was rotated and clean and had
But I
flow.
would say, like, the difference, for example, in watching a Chelsea and Balaj is you see where it could grow and where in a future season it could be different. Again, this is sort of like, I think we're there.
And why do people like Golden Skate describe their East of Eden program at nationals as like magical or something? Like, okay, it was magical when Michelle did it. When Rachel Flatt did it, they told us it was magical on Ice Network. Now it was good music for her. She was in Big Bird Yellow, but it was a nice program for Rachel. He looks like a freaking Christmas tree leprechaun. I don't know what she looks like. What is happening in that
I mean, again, it's Piers is in trouble.
Someone said yesterday on TSL Live, it's like watching a discipline die in real time.
And to think about, I go back 2018 to me was like the pinnacle of Olympic pair skating. Like the top 14, 15 teams, whatever it was, any one of those could have won this entire season.
It gets to be so, it's so weird because it's hard to, I think that the decision of what to do with Russia, right? Like it really like you have to think about it like ethically, but then you see what's happening to the sport, right? And then there's a certain time
in particular in Paris.
And you're like, well, maybe let them back. Like, I don't know that they're clean, but look at what's happening, right? Like, Jonathan,
a real opportunity with their absence that only Deanna seems to be walking through.
Drew Meekins posted something on his Facebook about what a dream come true it was to have junior and senior national champions in the same year. And I remember Jim Peterson posting about this, and obviously it's a great accomplishment. Is this the year you want to win junior and senior? And like that, I mean, I would have wanted
to. Those are the programs you wanted to have win. I mean,
Jonathan, it's so bad that I don't know I'd want to claim credit. I don't know I'd want to claim credit.
Yeah.
Like he had a fantastic accomplishment. If you read the Wikipedia. Oh, it looks great, right?
If you see the results only. Yeah.
You see the skate? Ooh.
Yeah. Tough.
Rough.
But again, with Chelsea and Balaj, I see that they could grow from it.
Can they? When has she last landed a jump?
Well, that's true. I just was so enamored with the twist.
Like, does Mia Bargot want to do pairs? Because I would put her with him if he can be nice. Let's do it. You know,
Yes, I was sort of a struggling single skater, and I know that I don't mean to sound insulting to peers by saying this, but I would see a real opportunity here. Do you want to keep finishing 10th at nationals in your single division or discipline, or do you see a big opening that's just asking for someone to do something? Now's the time.
that was like a church hymn. So make us your own. Now is the time. I'm hearing in my head. That's so that way you said it. You were like, now is the time. And I was like going back to the church cantor. There was a song, now is the time. Okay. Yes. Yes. Our lifetimes ago. Yes. Oh, by the way, great documentary to watch. As a kid, my parents used to have videos that they would put on for me when they would clean the house. And I was like, this will explain my whole personality to you.
Yeah, I was like, mine were all Muppet movies, and that explains mine, but okay.
Oh. The Great Muppet Caper.
The best. The water ballet. Are you kidding? Yeah.
Sound of Music.
Except I would only put in the first VHS because the second.
I would hide during the second half. Yeah. Okay.
Except for The Lonely Goatherd.
Why is that cemetery on the ceiling? It never made a lick of sense to me.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The We Are the World documentary on.
It Netflix. Looked fascinating.
It's fantastic. And I had the making of We Are the World VHS as a kid, hosted by Jane Fonda in her tight brown leather pants and her teased hair, giving us these like very dramatic Oscar-worthy speeches about famine in Africa. Fantastic Netflix.
It looked incredible. Yeah, that's on my list of things to watch.
I mean, I just wanted to call everyone. I was like, we need to be like, my sister and I used to imitate Cyndi Lauper having too many earrings in her thing because it was making noise when they were trying to record it.
Now, for those who know me, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time is 30 Rock, and they do a whole spoof on it where someone needs a kidney, so they do like, we need a kidney now, and they bring in, and on the episode, they bring in like Cyndi Lauper and Sheryl Crow and Clay Aiken, and they recreate like.
It's the biggest freak show you've ever seen in your life, packaged so well. And they were talking about trying to get Prince and arguing over Cindy and Madonna, and that Sheila E. left because she's like, they were never going to give me a solo anyway. They just wanted Prince. Oh my God, it's so good. You gotta watch it.
The egos involved, yeah.
Loved it. I have seen that VHS so many times. Okay. I could probably give Jane Fonda a speech. Okay.
With a vacuum going in the background, it sounds like. Yeah.
Wind in the hair. She's walking in the parking lot of the recording studio, and she just looks fabulous. Okay. Hanoi Jane at her best. Okay. God love her. Okay. She's controversial. She's political. I mean,
she exercises with a chair. Do you remember all those VHS?
Yeah, of course. Of course. God love her. She was not in the Netflix part. And why was she not in it? All right. But the best part is when I was an intern at the Olympics in 2008, one of the camera guys was Kenny Wu. Now, he is one of those camera guys where they often break the fourth wall. Now, the interesting thing about the camera guys that cover gymnastics, figure skating, equestrian, no matter what the network, they will hire the camera guys. So they are independent contractors. They are not like owned by NBC.
Right.
So Kenny Wu will be at the Olympics for CBS. He'll be at the Olympics for NBC. He's in the film. He's in it. They have Kenny Wu. At the 96 Olympic trials, he got like in Bella Caroli's face, and Bella was in a good mood and was like so happy to see him, and they're high-fiving, and you see him on camera. And his son entered at NBC too. But like, all of the skaters and gymnasts like love Kenny. He's like the friend to all of the skaters. He's the guy that you want. So it was just really cool to see him in that documentary because he is actually such a big part of figure skating and gymnastics. So
without us even knowing. Yeah.
Without you even knowing. That's like, he is the guy.
Some of the camera work, after seeing how exquisite it was at Europeans, some of the camera work at Four Continents was very peculiar. they like to like start with a close-up of the opening pose, which unfortunately you're often missing the overall picture. And then they would like fade out and they would become blurry and out of focus. But I was like,
Yes.
the part I need to see. Like
I
I
kept checking my internet when I was watching it on the IOC feed. I didn't like that.
and then sometimes during certain people's programs, it just cut to the audience.
Yeah.
Like during Final Spin or something, I was like, why am I looking at the audience during the end of like Anthony and Christina's program? I'm not sure it was them exactly. But I was like, what is happening? It was very confusing.
How about Deanna knowing all the words to "Oh Canada" out there on that podium? I mean, she is a great
I
fake
watched
Canadian.
the medal ceremony, but she strikes me as someone who would have put in that work.
She did.
Yeah.
She knew the words to "Oh Canada,"
But
and it's like,
speaking of Canada, I don't know if we like are finished with ice dance. I have to
no, we have to go back to ice dance.
I was not really remembering the third Canadian team here's content with their like almost Halloween themed free dance.
They're not my cup of tea. Every year it's costumey and horrifying for me. Okay.
Some of like the opening moves where she had the arms around the neck, like, and she was like the corpse up here. What I did appreciate about it, I was like, I can't stop watching because you keep doing things I'm not expecting. So even if I didn't love it or wouldn't have come up with anything like that on my own, I was fascinated because it was just, again, a different set of moves instead of seeing everyone else's. The other thing
Can we be honest about Baudry and Sorensen, their actual skating?
Well, there's her skating and there's his skating, I find.
Yes, her skating, good. His skating, Jonathan, watch their rotational lift and how many times he hits his toe picks on the ice. And be like, would you trust him? Watch their 1 foot. Watch her, watch him. Watch the twizzles. Watch her, watch him. And the overall program.
She's remarkable.
That is the overall Notre Dame de Paris that we have seen a million times. Is that not the biggest Montreal schlock you've ever seen?
Well, it just types in that like lovey angst thing.
Ugh. When they get to the choreo sequence and he's going left and right, which feels very Marie France, because I believe she did the same move in the opening of the Thank You Canada tour. Remember when we watched that like special on it and they're like going like this?
Yeah.
That seems to be some like Sam Chouinard, like Nathan Chen, Marie France, like cool. I can't stand it. I have to tell you, I cannot stand that program.
You know who does cool really?
And I loved their free dance last year, by the way.
Is Torgashev.
Mm-hmm.
Just when, because I think they're Shaylin programs, like just when I'm like, wait, did you just stop skating? And then he does something cool, like, and flippant and like off the cuff looking about it. He does cool very well. Big fan. Big
Yeah.
fan.
And Maxim Naumov needs an outside point of view besides his parents, because his parents were always the forgettable pair.
Except for that lift entrance where she did the somersault thing.
But like his program, very nice, very uninspired. He's wearing brown in the free. It's just beige paint, right? Like you're just like, oh, okay.
Barbara Rolls loves it, so we're good.
Loves it. Okay. I believe she coached the skater in question, by the way, in one of those lawsuits. So,
yeah, okay.
By the way, we need to talk to Barbara Roll. I mean, she's got opinions, Josh.
Yeah, she does. Her Tarasova impersonation when she was coaching Nicole Bobek. I always remember that. And that
she had the big sunglasses, Barbara Rolls.
She what?
She had the big sunglasses.
Yep. And the big fur and the old lady hair. And
she was great in that movie Rise. Remember when she was talking about Maribel Vincent?
Yeah.
So. Oh my God.
Oh
my God. The biggest shade. I talked to Mark Militano the other week. And he was talking, people are like very divided about Ron Ludington. Some people call him a saint. And Mark Militano was like, I worked with the best ballet train. And then I went to a roller skater. And you're like, incredible. Okay, just.
Something to take from both, perhaps. Yeah. Okay. Piper and Paul's new outfits. Costume.
Her dress is exquisite. I don't know why he keeps wearing that ugly fabric in different colors. But
this color works much better. That's for sure.
He kind of looks like a 70s like a 70s heartthrob to me in a weird, like he has this like very unique vibe. He's like back in time.
Like a cult model, and we're just going to leave that out
A
there.
what?
Yeah, don't worry about it. If people know what it means, they'll get
But
it.
you getting that vibe?
Yeah, yeah.
I always get that vibe from him.
There's something vintage looking about him.
His modeling photos were very vintage, and that when he did the nude modeling for that one like retro. Okay. He also, it's interesting is that the commentators, I was shocked
That Chris said that about his weight distribution.
that his weight is always outside of the circle when they're inside the circle. I thought that was very interesting, and I was like, we need to call Caroline about that.
Because he quickly like was like, and that's why it looks so different. He's like, I'm just
He
impressed.
caught himself there, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
well, I always find that Paul is a great skater and yet seems a tad bit stiff. And I'm wondering if it has to do with the weight trans. I don't know. I want to, it made me want to rewatch
I
all
want
of
to go back and watch more through that lens and see if that becomes apparent. But it was interesting. After your interview with Carol,
Mhm.
they've achieved what they set out to do, and they tell a story. I do believe that they are telling a story and that those emotions are running. Are they the same gorgeous vignettes we see elsewhere in the competition right now? No. But like, you know, you can love Chalk and Bates positions and lifts and opening pose and all this sort of stuff. I don't know the story. I see beauty in I see beautiful vignettes that are unmatched.
I have to tell you, I don't know how to evaluate Chalk and Bates right now because what is the weakness that we always talk about Chalk and Bates?
Well, right now it seems to be the speed, but in the past we had talked about
The skating skills.
Yeah.
The skating skills and the speed, right? Watching them at nationals, I have their last performance in my head, and I have Piper and Ball in my head. And I don't know that I could give you an honest opinion about this because the Chalk and Bates program, it does the thing where it has like a big opening, kind of like a slow section, and then it builds towards the end. But because they were so sick and fatigued at nationals, there was no contrast of like light and dark. It was all kind of like, and when they got to this,
Survive. Yeah.
when they got to the slow section, it was like they were skating through mud, right? And I thought, oh my God, oh, are they going to win the nationals? Like, are they going to be able to fun, right? So it's hard to know without, it was so smart for them not to go to four continents. One, they're on the nation for winning the gold medal, and two, they would have lost to Piper and Paul here.
100%.
I don't think that Roman himself, they would have, I mean, the most hilarious thing to me is that the most politically moved two teams that they are so politically active behind are Baudrillard and Sorensen, the way that they push them from Denmark to skate Canada and push them up in the rankings, and Fear.
Yeah, yeah.
And by the way, if Chalk and Bates do retire, Fear and Gibson will be on the podium. Take it to the bank like Deanna Davis going to the Olympics, which all of you people here told me that I'm obsessed with the Terry and that I don't know what I'm talking about and they're not good enough and they're never going to make the Olympics.
You're totally right. Russia didn't even want to believe it when it was happening.
Fear and Gibson are the most commercial, likable team. They compete all over the world in every continent.
All season. Yeah.
All season. Just hardworking. That Lila Fear seems driven.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever listened to her podcast? She overdoes it with the thesaurus and the scripting so much that you're like, if that's how she is on audio, imagine what she's like in training. That team, in it to win it. And I really...
Are you ready for this, though? I think there's an opportunity here. I like Chalk and Bates. Some of their lifts and spins are just gorgeous. They're in it. Piper and Paul, I'm a theater guy. When it's all said and done, and they tell me a story, and storytellers, communicators, like always get extra credit from me. Don't be so sure the Italians aren't going to wiggle in there.
Oh, I think they already did.
Suddenly watching this, I was like, are the Italians going to surprise us all? Or maybe not surprise us.
The Italians are requiring that Chalk and Bates are perfect at Worlds. My concern with Chalk and Bates, on paper, they should keep going for 2026. I think it will build their brand. They'll be seen as winners. She'll be seen
Big
as,
ask.
right?
Big ask.
It's hard to evaluate this after nationals. And obviously, you're so exhausted with the flu.
Could you imagine thinking about 2 years from now when all you want to do is go home and go to bed? Yeah.
If you asked us that question after the Grand Prix final, it's a very different question after we saw them at nationals with the flu.
Yeah.
With Papadakis and Cizeron potentially coming back, it's very like difficult to imagine. But I don't. Okay.
It was interesting. You asked Barbara.
Jonathan,
Not Barbara.
you're Catholic, right?
You asked Renee, and she was like, to me, I'd bail. She'd be like, if I had an Olympic team medal, if I had the world medal, or the world championship, and I had all those national titles, she's like, I would call it. I couldn't do it another 2 years if I were them.
Well, you know, the only place to go is down.
Right.
In your heart of hearts, do you believe that Chalk and Bates are in any danger of being individual Olympic champions, regardless of if the French are here or not?
Champions? No. Maybe medalists.
Medalists, yes. Medalists, yes.
Renee was like, I don't think if you have the world championship and you have the Olympic gold medal for the team event, that an individual bronze or silver is worth it for those 2 years that they would have to endure.
I think you have to look at it as set up your career. What are they going to do? Evan could be like a lawyer. He was so impressive in the CBS interview. Madison is probably going to design packaging with Matthew Caron. Maybe she could help you pick music and help you pick costumes, because I think that that is missing, right? In that sense, I would be like, think about everything you have now as fulfilling your career. Remember when they used to say that for Michelle Kwan, everything was just extra? I would almost look at the next 2 years as being like, be as interesting and ornate and chic as you can be, and focus on your design and your packaging and your music, and set up your future career so that you are springboarding this in a Tessa Virtue-like way, and use the next 2 years
as a platform. Yeah.
Give every interview about that gold medal.
Yeah.
Listen, Madison Hubble, great speaker, opinionated, outspoken, queen. She's pregnant, due next month, and she's going to have a newborn. She's not going to be able to just be able to get up on the phone with the reporter.
Right.
Listen, Madison Chalk should make Christine Brennan her best friend. And the only reason that won't happen is because Montreal is not going to want Madison Chalk to talk about Christine Brennan, because Christine's going to be like, yeah, I can talk to you about that team gold medal and tell me what you think about Nikolai Sorensen.
Right.
Right? So,
if she's public enemy number one in that camp right now.
of course she is.
Yeah.
We're probably number two. And that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
We make that decision for Marie-France to support this. And then to be in the kiss and cry with no masks with the flu and the whole deal. I mean, it's just like, look, but I think it's good that this happened in Montreal now. Because I think that anyone who becomes successful, after a certain number of years, you get a little cocky and then you have to get gritty again. And it's good to have that challenge. To, like, they always say, like in sports, like the third year is the hardest, right? But notice that every 4 years, when the Worlds are in Montreal, things get a little dicey for Marie-France. So I think it's good that they're having this challenge, because I think they need to hunker down, focus, and concentrate. I mean, Twitter's having a field day with them.
Who is?
Twitter. But when you make your name I Am, of course they're going to make fun of you for that.
Right.
Of course.
Well, even I was seeing Skate Canada post congratulations to both Piper and Paul and Nikolai, and the comments were coming in. And I'm sure they're working fast to delete them, but I was still catching plenty. Yeah.
Who's not seeing the big picture there, right? And doing damage control.
Yeah.
Yes. They don't even have a statement out like, well, we need to let this play out. Like, they don't even have that damage control, right? It's just haywire. Yeah. So.
And who's getting mixed, who's getting lost in the mix are the three players we really want to be focusing on, which are Piper and Paul, Chalk and Bates, and the Italians, you know?
And I will say with Christina and Anthony, she has improved so much. Watch her one.
Thing about the little mishap here, I mean, hardly.
Watch her one foot. if he could improve as much as she is, they would be going somewhere.
Yeah.
They need to get rid of that brown shirt. That is hideous. Although it does let him fade into the background where you kind of.
I was like, it does give me a glimpse of the chest hair, which isn't the worst thing I've ever seen. But
all right, well then maybe we could give him a different color. Like, what is just
again? I don't know if that's a reference to the movie they're doing.
Also, I would have just put Paul in black. What is that? Charcoal, like cobalt blue?
Because was it supposed to like sort of match her pastel? Like it was supposed to be all in the same family, but I don't know. But you know what? Actually, after
The
this,
dress is gorgeous. And you look at it up close, it has such nice detail. It's literally been like, she has a gorgeous dress and they can't figure out what to put him in.
yeah, and the man looks good in most things. I can't imagine it's a big problem to figure out what to do. But also after your interview with Carol, talking about that final moment from the movie she was talking about, where like even in death they reach and the person is.
I saw it this time. I saw it.
I mean, I always knew that ending move was cool, but I didn't know why.
Mm.
And then suddenly to hear her description of it and then watch it, I was like, it was. They are storytellers. 100 more than anyone else.
Through the glass moment is still my least favorite moment in the program, and yet.
The which moment?
When she reaches into the judges. It's just like, to me, I don't feel like they ever have love or friendship in the beginning of the program where there is any harmony before all of that
you
takes
primarily see the conflict as opposed
you
to
only see the conflict. I don't see the love.
Okay.
That's my issue with the program.
That's fair.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a great novel.
Well, and again, what I love is they're trying.
Yes.
Okay, maybe this isn't the one that we will always look back on, but I love that they went for it.
Kathy and Catherine, Terry and Deanna. I mean, it's all the same, isn't it? It's just
something like that. Yeah.
Youth Olympics, did you like? I thought Jia Shin was very lovely here.
You know what was nice about seeing Jia Shin at the Youth Olympics was how much, and this could sound like an IJS, like it's a slam, but I mean it as a compliment. The program felt open in some ways. Things felt uncluttered, like they were thoughtful moments instead of nonstop hysteria. And it felt like, especially after some of the Four Continents programs, it felt like a breath of fresh air to just sort of breathe for a second in between certain moments during the free skate. Just lovely, lovely skater. I was surprised by Mao Shimada. She looked more nervous or tight to me than I remember, but maybe I'm not remembering correctly. And maybe it was because I was watching all seniors, then hopped over. But it wasn't flowing for her. And the judges didn't really know what to do. Obviously she won. She had a great deal of like number one placements. A lot of the judges were burying her well below second with that performance.
Skatingscores.com will let you know all of the.
Those breakdowns are fascinating because I was like, if this judge was up to it, you'd be fifth, you know? And I don't know if they think that the quad just needs to keep being attempted at all of these competitions. It's been a very scary moment this season. I don't know that she needs to be competing it, even if she's training it. But also, lovely skater, lovely program. But in this instance, for one of the first times this season, I far preferred Gia.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying she should have won, but just as a viewer, it was a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah. But I would rewatch Olivia Elin in Ice Dance. It's just nice. It's just nice to see that aesthetic because we have seen so many aesthetics from one school that it's nice to see a different aesthetic. It's always nice to have some variety.
The variety is crucial in this.
Listen, when Marina and Igor were at the top teams were never the problem.
Right.
It's Rockney's brother and what they're going to give that, right? It's the middle of the pack teams that start to get the schlock, right? Yeah. And I think that that's a real issue in any dance school when they become that
Oversaturated almost. Yeah.
oversaturated. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
just
And
nice.
Jacob Sanchez, that was an interesting watch, obviously winning the short program at the Youth Olympics, but struggling with the triple axels and such. And
The triple axel has never been a great jump for him. He has just never been his easiest jump to get. So
again, what a weird thing to have to contemplate whether or not you want to go to Korea for the Youth Olympics or compete in your own nationals. It's got to be a goofy situation. He would have been a welcome addition to nationals. So
he was in no danger of winning U.S. nationals at the senior level, certainly. So
yeah,
maybe it was good for him to go there and get that notoriety. And
winning the short program. Yeah.
At the end of the day, do you really even remember after the top 2 or 3, if you're not like an insane fan, how many of those disappointing US men just sort of blend together when they underperform all the time?
When you're looking in like 8, 12, whatever they are, it's easier for it to become muddy in my memory. I just know they weren't in the mix.
Yeah.
And even though, for instance, I think Torgashev's performance here was very good, and I love the content, and I like the way his body moves on the ice in those programs. But when you're 8th at 4 continents, or maybe I'm getting that wrong, it just sort of fades away to me.
Listen, think about it. Jacob Sanchez, Ava Marie Ziegler, same coaches. They both chose the international assignment over going to nationals. What did they know?
Some things, because it worked. It worked in both instances.
I know, and they were kind of like the forgotten pair team when they were with Moskvin, not Moskvina. So he coached the most boring pairs.
Okay.
Do you remember like Eltsova and Bushkov?
Yes, I was just thinking of them because we were talking about Shishkova and Naumov. And I just remember they always wore that, like, it was like a burgundy brown thing, and it was like had a V all the way down, and I was.
And there were boot covers, right? I mean, Shishkova had boot covers, but did Eltsova as well?
I think so. Eltsova and Bushkov were always a tough watch in the mid-90s. And sometimes they did okay.
Refrigerator break, you might say, right?
Yeah. In fact, almost assuredly. Yeah.
It's like listening to Summertime when Maddie skis is skating and you're a little tired because you overslept. Yes.
It happens. And
what
the
was
coach
your moment?
let her have it. She was like, why are you so slow?
What was your moment of the week?
Oh gosh. I always know this question is coming and then I don't think about it. I might say, as I'm thinking aloud, Hyper and Paul's final pose with that inside knowledge, especially sort of made it pop out. I would say like the men's event in general. I would say the combination, especially of Yuma and Junhwan together, that I was like, see, there is hope. You can do interesting programs that are emotive with beautiful skating skills, even within this current system. So somewhere in there is that moment. How about you?
Skating, it's some mix of Yuma, Ava Ziegler, and just all of the intrigue of Deanna.
Oh, of course.
I think bonding with Maya is always wonderful, but I have to say, Caroline,
that interview
answered difficult questions that Montreal would typically dodge during an interview, and I thought, interesting. She answered them.
Dodge. She took it. She gave a thoughtful answer that made total sense. I was like, I like you. I don't even ice dance. Do you want to work?
Was she being shady, or had she actually not seen Mark Hanready skate? Because that, I thought, I was like feeding it to her on a platter.
I believe if you are stuck as a coach that way, because you said what he's been doing, and I do believe she's probably not up on the same clips that we're seeing of him from that show and stuff. I didn't read it as a slam, but maybe I'm just naive.
But we can tease him about it, right? He has a.
I doesn't even know who you are. No, I'm just.
I mean, you were a good commentator. Do you like Mark Hanready skating?
Because it read as like she was trying to say he was not a good skater, but I think she was just not up to date on what he was doing skating wise. But it did read very funny.
Because you know Mark is one of those people that's like, love me, love me, love me. And I'm like,
I
oh.
do. You know, he is greatly missed. Chris, there's nothing wrong with Chris, but it was a little like, let's say, Canadian Nationals-esque.
But it's okay, Mark. You're skating on TV, but Carol thinks you're a good commentator. Yes.
And so do I.
You know who else we missed? Queen Belinda. There's a new channel on YouTube, Sydney Figure Skating. They're uploading old clips. They had Queen Belinda from 1980.
What was her discipline? Singles? And
And they're like updating old pairs. Weren't you into like the 84 pairs Australian? Like I remember you throwing shade. Like you
your
were
kid?
very, yes. I thought of you instantly when I saw that this guy.
For some reason, I thought that was 80. Was that 84?
I,
With Peter Kane? They brought him
listen,
back for another one? Yeah.
I don't usually watch the last place pair. I don't.
As a general rule of thumb. But I don't know who the commentators were for the Youth Olympics, but they were peculiar. They were
Yeah.
providing some unusual.
I like Carol to commentate. She gives her opinion.
But it's clear and thoughtful, but also insightful. That's like Chris got it right because he always knows how to build momentum of what will the score be and will this go first or will this go second. But there's sort of general niceties, and then if there is a criticism, I feel like he's just reading the score sheet. Like I want additional insight, like the Paul comment, quite frankly. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's ask Carol. Carol, why is Paul's weight always incorrect?
She'd be like, well, I do not think Chris is a good commentator. No.
Yeah, but they're both British and they grew up together in the same system. That's what's so great about it.
No wonder Chris walked it back. Yeah.
Oh, and how about the fact that we asked Caroline how her list was for the nationals, and she said that her husband woke her up in the middle of the night because he had a night terror that Piper and Paul were fourth. And then they went to check the results. In the middle of the night, the router went and she's on the floor.
Can't you just picture her with that coffee mug at like 4 a.m. trying to figure out how to restart the router so she can verify that her husband's nightmare was not an omen, it was just a nightmare.
How much do you love that her husband gave her a coffee mug that said F off while she's giving an interview? That's just fantastic.
Or how did I miss it? Now I have to go back and look at it again.
Oh my God. Like, she knew her audience. She knew her audience.
She gets it. She gets it, that one.
Hold it, it should look sexy, everyone. I know.